the stock market of clothing. Now, this one is actually really interesting to me. I touched on this topic in a video before, and I'm going to try and explain this one again as simply as possible. So, when I think about the stock market of clothing, I think essentially about the ways that the brands are seen by members of the public, seen in their industry of business, and how their decisions through the ways that they make new clothing, interact with maybe the politics of the fashion industry, how that affects the ecosystem and people's perception and perspective on the brand. Wait. Oh yeah, sorry. I had to check the audio was on then. I thought the audio wasn't on then. I was going to be like, oh God. So, when you think about all those factors, the stock market of the clothing is kind of just as it is. When you think about the stock market, prices go up and down based on decisions that are made of people within those industries, within, all aspects of it. For example, Elon Musk only needs to tweet something and Tesla's shares might go up or down depending on whether what he says is in a positive move forward for Tesla or any affiliations to him. And it does work in the same strokes with the brands. Now, I find this stuff super interesting because I think the stock market of the clothing itself is very, very fascinating to understand. Because once you get an understanding for that, you can also get an understanding for, I guess, your identity for wanting to sell and behind those brands. If you're somebody who's just wanting to sell loads and loads of items and wanting to just be sustainable through selling secondhand, then you're probably not going to care too much about whether Gap has just said something that's offended a set community of people, or whether Adidas has done something that people see unsustainable. It's hard. And I mean, with me, I'm the same, where the main driving force for me is being sustainable through the saving items from landfill and building this community of that sort of thing up. However, to look at the stock market of the brands is to really be aware and understand what brands are worth investing in. I think if you're somebody who's serious about understanding the economics of it, that would be one of my suggestive go-tos, would be for sure you want to understand the stock market of the brands. And some things will affect like certain aspects of a brand over time massively, like incredibly. So if we take, say a brand, if we literally, this will be a good thumbnail as well hopefully, if we take Nike, for example, what was that? If we take Nike, for example, right? Nike, let's look at how Phil Knight created the brand over time, but also not just like the starting point of it. What I want to focus on is how he integrated influencers, his relationship with Michael Jordan, his introduction and influence on the American sports idols industry. Adidas, using David Beckham for many years. What I'm trying to get to in like a simpler way with that is these brands put an imprint on a bigger societal awareness, so that Nike from knowing Michael Jordan, but might not have maintained liking Nike as a result of not seeing it on a celebrity. So there's a big influence on the people that might like a brand because of that. And what it really does is, I am a big fan of analogies, right? But you kind of look at the brand and its sort of like peak icon of awareness and representation is at the top of a mountain, right? And it's kind of like the water represents all that input of influence, whether it's celebrities, whether it's like new lines, how they're interacting with people. And over time, there's like a really slow but sure trickle down effect where at the end of where this stream ends is the sort of continued momentum of that brand. So without sounding too poetic for no reason, Michael Jordan's collaboration with Nike that might have been in the late 80s, early 90s, around that time, will still influence people 35 years later because of what they think of Michael Jordan. And then as a byproduct of Michael Jordan, they know he wore Nike. And as a result, not only, then this is the power of the celebrities through the influence, but also the power of it to ricochet back for resellers with like distributing this. If you buy Nike, you will be able to know loads of people who have wore this. You will know like Nike as the #1 leading global distributor of fast fashion, of clothing, of active sportswear. They are incompatible. They are the Amazon of activewear in terms of where they lead on the market. Adidas. Adidas are also a massive leader in activewear and sportswear, but why do we all just know that Adidas is not in the same compatible level as Nike? And it's not to say that we don't like Adidas as much, but if I told you, if we had both of these t-shirts up, a Nike one and an Adidas one, and I went around and asked 10 people how much you'd be willing to pay for this one and this one, most people will probably incline a little bit more price on a Nike t-shirt to an Adidas. So what I'm trying to get to with that is the influence of the stock market through the brands and what they've done has over time had this insane trickle-down effect on their value in the second-hand economy. There's so many factors to it, and when I say about this interest of it, I mentioned in another video before about if you wanted to be a specific seller for a set brand, right? So one aspect and one positive angle of looking at that is if you like focused on just being a Nike reseller, if you thought I'm going to be just a Gap reseller, or I'm rather than just setting a brand, what brand aligns with my core values? What brands do I think has good intentions? What brand do I want to represent? Look at Patagonia. Patagonia is incredible activewear, an amazing brand, and it was ran by one of the most incredible CEOs that has been seen. If you research about the Patagonia owner and how he, like some of his ways around, like how he worked with members of staff, how the sort of the employability of the people that he had, the way that he distributed his brand after selling it, he didn't sell out. He maintained such a good value, and he's been using organic cotton in his products for ages. His Sinkilla fleeces have been one of the most staple piece sort of fleeces. They have such an incredible value because not only is the product good, but there's a part of the stock market of that brand that has such a positive wave on people. And I do genuinely believe that's how parts of the price are influenced. I want to talk about North Face in the same way, but North Face to me is different to something like Patagonia. And this also comes down to this is where the core values of a brand and the celebrity nature of certain influencers can have such a different way of it reacting. So like North Face nupsies and puffers, does everybody know the first time that they saw one of them and was like, I want one? Was it because they saw a celebrity wearing it? Sorry. Was it because they saw a celebrity wearing it? Was it because they just thought that they looked really good jackets? What was that pivotal point that made somebody go, I want one of those? I believe that was a massive online trend that was perpetuated through celebrities and through the fact that North Face has been a household American explorer brand for a long time. Whether people think that they sort of lost a bit of their value, a bit of their reputation of being that sort of brand upon sort of doing loads of collabs, you know, with like Supreme and things. They put their stamp more in the, and I use this word with like a nice gesture, but the hype beast culture of things versus something like Patagonia. I don't think Patagonia have needed to do that in order to maintain a good reputation. And it's not to say that either of those options are bad options, or that what North Face did was bad. They maintained relevancy. But people that used to buy North Face initially, if you asked people 25 years ago who bought North Face, it was guys who wanted to go and climb mountains and wanted something that was made of Gore-Tex material and that was really strong and durable. And now it's just a completely wiped up price point for something that probably has less durability with those actual conditions. again, when we look at the stock market of clothing, it's very, very complex how we really look at this. But if I'm to kind of like generalize this into a few micro points, I would say that these are the biggest impressions on the stock market of clothing over time. The way that celebrities influence it and how long they maintain an influence on that brand, similar to the Carhartt Detroit jackets and the Carpenter double knee pants. The ethos and underlying ideology of that brand, whether people like the brand because they like the guy who set it up, whether they like the brand because they did something that people resonated with or something of that nature, the core values, the celebrity influence. And then I guess the last thing that affects the stock value after both of those points is the way that people talk about the brand, the way that people wear the brands, and the way that people integrate with the use of that in their everyday existence. Because people buy into people, as we all know, but people buy into people from many different ways. And that's why, I mean, some people need the influence by celebrities. Some people want to know that this company's got good values. And sometimes, let's be honest, a company can do some of the worst stuff you've ever heard, and it can be public knowledge, but you will still buy into them because there might be this impressionable thing of celebrities underneath. There's so many layers to this, but what I want to say is if you want to understand more about the stock market of clothing, feel free to drop a comment with some more information you want me to break down. It's so complex. There's so much to it. And I've actually not made any more like sense of what I'm doing here, but if you like the videos, keep liking them, keep letting me know that they're all gravy, and I will keep coming back every day at 6:30 UK time with another one. So I'll see you later, guys. It's honestly a pleasure. I love these vids.